Well, winter has returned to the Northeast and kiboshed any trail building efforts we had for the weekend. But if you're following along with us at rocksolidmtb.org or here on this channel, you know that we have a pretty big undertaking with a lot of things that have to get done. So even though we're not out at the camp this weekend, we're all working on little projects. And I thought, hey, even though I'm stuck here at home, I could at least start working on the signs. Maybe I'll make a video of that. But then I thought to myself, watching me stencil and run a router and do some painting didn't seem like a real interesting video. Then I got to thinking about the color coding that I have to put on them. Right? I got green and blue and black, and when I do the signs, they're all going to get labeled appropriately. But what does appropriately mean? Now, if you look out on the internet, you can find tidbits of information, but how does it all tie together? How did the color coding from the ski industry come into the mountain bike industry, and how does it play for those of us who are building trails that aren't at ski resorts? And what does it mean when you travel from place to place to ride different trails? Are you always going to ride the black, and who told you it's a black? This is a history lesson today that is not only interesting, I think it's pretty important for the entire mountain bike community to help us come together on green, blue, and black, and what are you riding. So instead of hanging out here in the shop, let's go on into the office. Let's do a fascinating history lesson on trail difficult ratings. Let's go. Quick English lesson before we go to history. Remember the difference between objective and subjective. Objective, not influenced by personal feelings. Subjective is. The fact that people struggle with this today is why we have so many scenes of this in the streets. But let's not go right there right now, Trump 2020. This is about how the mountain bike industry hijacked the green, blue, black labels that came from the ski industry. So the best place for us to start as mountain bikers is at a ski resort. In 1964, the National Ski Areas Association implemented a color coding system for the difficulty of each ski slope. This was a very objective process based on degree of slope. Green, less than 25 degrees, blue, 25 to 40, greater than 40 black, greater than 40 with terrain feature, double black. Seemed pretty simple. Later on, IMBA implemented or hijacked a variation of that. So you'd think if you go to a ski resort where you're going to be riding, they're already used to the color-coded system, therefore their mountain bike trails will be about the same. The problem is, this is where everything, once again, starts to become very subjective. But let's go back to that ski resort that's running mountain bikes in the summer, and let's make the assumption that we think everything is objective. Green is green, blue is blue, black is black. Based on places you've ridden before, you would say to your young teenage daughter, it's okay, you'll be able to do it. She looks back going, I don't know, it seems a little scary compared to what I've ridden before. But you tell her just to get off the back of the seat, you'll be fine. And you believe that because, hey, it shows right there, it's a blue trail. It's what we've ridden before. And then as you watch your young daughter careening down through the forest, you think, oh dear Lord, I'm the worst parent ever. I'll let you know at the end of the video how she made out. But right now, let's talk about trails that aren't labeled at all. You know, for years, we would travel up into the Enchanted Forest in New York State, and we would do a race event at a ski resort. And you would think it's a ski resort, so therefore the trail should be marked green, blue, black. But this particular trail wasn't marked at all. It was just simply labeled race loop. Now, if we took a map of that ski resort and looking at all of the slopes and how they're graded, and then if we marked as sort of where the race loop was, you'd see that we were riding a lot of black trail, but none of it was labeled as black. It was just the race loop, and everybody from beginner to expert rode it, and to the best of my understanding, everybody had fun and nobody ever died. In fact, in the nearly 2 decades of racing that I've been doing now, I can't think of a single event that I went to where the trails were color-coded. In fact, I can't think of any race where the trails were coded at all. They were just trails. The best you could hope for was the trail builders in that area gave the trail some unique name that gave you hopefully some idea of what you were getting into when you started riding. Let me give you one more comparative example to bring this argument together. I spend a lot of time riding an IMBA designed trail system. And on that trail system, it's green, blue, black, just like any other IMBA trail system would be. Now, by IMBA standards, there really is no green, but they have green marked on there. But interestingly, they have on the map, one of the trails is actually marked as red, as a progression trail. Now, earlier in the video, I flashed really quick a shot of Whistler's map. And if we look at the Whistler map, you'll see that Dirt Merchant is a red progression trail. Now, the one where I ride, I can ride that progression trail from top to bottom and never have my wheels leave the ground. If I feel like it, I just slow down, have fun, and just sort of cruise down it. I've never been to Whistler, but I've seen images and videos of Dirt Merchant. I'm positive that if I tried that, within the first less than 100 yards, things would go very wrong very quickly. Now, does that mean that somebody's right and somebody's wrong? Absolutely not. That's the joy of the subjective trail labeling. A few years ago, I was talking to a trail builder who had previously been employed by IMBA about a system he had done, and I was talking to him about how surprised I was about how sanitized and, well, relatively easy their black trails were. And he said, well, we had to label them black because their elevation changes were so much different than all of the other trails around. And that is really the heart of subjective trail labeling, is it's not a comparison of apples to apples from one trail system to the other. It seems to be across the board, ourselves included when we do our trails, is that we label green, blue, or black in comparison to all of the other trails on that piece of property. Now, when we do our horses to hardtail, we're going to label one of the trails black simply because in comparison to all the other trails, it's much more difficult, and we have an idea of the level of rider that will be on them. So all the places I talked about were absolutely correct, and we need to understand that that subjective labeling just gives us an idea of what you're going to be riding in comparison to the other trails on that system. And now that we've finished in our little video here getting down to the bottom of the ski slope, maybe we should go back and check in and see how my daughter did. Now, as a trail builder, I wouldn't want to have to try and follow some objective guidelines to labeling my trails. But maybe my daughter has given us the best lesson possible. You see, unlike skis, bikes have brakes, and we're able to actually get off and walk the areas that we're not comfortable, that we're smart enough to not ride above our ability. And with that said, really having subjective labeling just to give us an idea of what kind of trail we're going to be on in comparison to the other trails on that system is not just good enough, it's probably great for the adventures of mountain biking. Really hope you enjoyed this little history lesson and that you'll consider helping us out by subscribing to the channel. Check out more videos. Take care. God bless.